Tell me, where are you watching this from? Comment your city below. I want to see how far this story reaches. Because what you're about to hear is real, and it can happen anywhere, to anyone. I had everything, or so I thought. A wife I loved, a best friend I trusted with my life, and a future that felt secure. But life has a cruel way of showing you that nothing is ever as perfect as it seems. For 5 years, I was married to Olivia, the woman I thought was my soulmate. I worked hard to give us a good life, and in return, I believed I had a solid marriage, a home filled with warmth, and a best friend, Daniel, who had been with me since college. We were inseparable. He was more than a friend. He was like my brother. I never saw it coming. I never thought that my wife and my best friend would betray me in the worst way possible. Underscore. It didn't happen all at once. The cracks in my marriage started as small, almost unnoticeable changes, things that I told myself were normal. Olivia wasn't as affectionate anymore. Our conversations grew shorter. She was always on her phone, always distracted, always somewhere else even when she was right beside me. At first, I ignored it. Every marriage goes through phases, right? Maybe she was just stressed. I worked long hours, and I blamed myself for not being as available as I used to be. I never imagined that she was pulling away for another man. The man who had stood beside me at my wedding. Underscore. Daniel had always been a part of our lives. Olivia and I spent time with him regularly, and I had always been grateful that my wife and my best friend got along so well. But then, something changed. Daniel started canceling plans more often. He was always too busy to hang out, always rushing through conversations, avoiding eye contact. At first, I thought maybe he was just going through something at work, but then I started noticing how Olivia acted differently around him. She laughed too easily at his jokes. She touched his arm absent-mindedly. And then there were the whispers, private jokes between them that I wasn't a part of. I told myself it was nothing, but deep down, something felt wrong. Underscore. The night my life changed forever. I was sitting on the couch, waiting for Olivia to come home. She had told me she was working late, but by midnight, there was no sign of her. By 2 a.m., I was gripping my phone, my heart pounding, staring at the screen, willing her to call or text. But there was nothing, just silence. And then, finally, the front door creaked open. She walked in, her heels dangling from one hand, her hair slightly disheveled, lips swollen in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. She stopped short when she saw me awake. "Oh," she said, blinking. "You're up?" I stood. "Where were you?" She hesitated, just for a second, but that second was enough. "Work ran late," she said finally, brushing past me. "I didn't have my phone." Lie. I could feel it in the way she said it. Too smooth, too practiced. But I didn't push. Not yet. Because I already knew. Underscore. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to Olivia's steady breathing beside me. The next morning, I checked her phone while she was in the shower. I had never done it before, never felt the need to. There was nothing. No suspicious messages. No missed calls. No history of any kind. She had deleted everything. That was when I knew. No one clears their phone unless they have something to hide. And Olivia? She was hiding a lot. Underscore. The night I confronted her, I expected her to lie. I expected her to make excuses. What I didn't expect was for her to tell me the truth. We were sitting in the bedroom, the air between us heavy with unspoken words. My hands were shaking as I finally asked, "Is there someone else?" For a moment, she didn't answer. Then, finally, she exhaled. Yes. My breath caught in my throat, but I still had to ask. I had to hear it. Oh. She hesitated, just for a second. Then, she looked me in the eyes and whispered the name that made my stomach turn to ice. Daniel. Underscore 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 underscore. The room spun. I felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. Daniel, my best friend. I had trusted him with my life. I had stood beside him through everything, shared my dreams, my fears, my marriage. And he had stabbed me in the back. I gripped the edge of the bed, my fingers digging into the fabric. How long? I forced out. She closed her eyes, as if bracing for impact. Then, finally, she answered, A year. A year. For an entire year, they had been lying to my face, laughing with me, sitting at my dinner table, pretending to be my family. And the worst part? They had won. Because Olivia wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was leaving me for him. Underscore 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 underscore. As she packed her bags, I just stood there numb. I felt nothing. No anger, no pain, just a dull, empty void where my heart used to be. But before she walked out that door, she turned to me one last time. I'm sorry, Michael, she said, but there was no real emotion in her voice. I never meant to hurt you. Then she hesitated, her hand resting on her stomach. And that was when I noticed it, the slight curve, the way she cradled it so gently. A sick feeling twisted in my gut. Olivia, I whispered, are you pregnant? She looked at me then, her eyes full of something I couldn't place. Guilt? Pity? Then, softly, she said the words that would haunt me forever. It's Daniel's. The room was dead silent, but inside me, a storm raged. I felt every single heartbeat pounding in my ears, each one screaming the same question over and over again. How could she do this? I looked at Olivia, standing by the door, her suitcase in one hand and her other hand resting protectively over her stomach. My stomach twisted in a way I had never felt before. Daniel's child, not mine, his. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but no words came out. And in that moment, I realized something chilling. She didn't regret it. She wasn't leaving because she felt guilty. She was leaving because she had already moved on. I was just an inconvenience now, an old chapter she had finished reading. I wanted to scream, to grab something and throw it, to demand she feel even an ounce of the pain I was feeling. But I didn't. Instead, I swallowed it all, clenched my fists, and forced myself to speak. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. She sighed as if she were tired of the conversation. Maybe, but it's my choice. And just like that, she walked out the door, never looking back. Underscore underscore underscore. The house felt too big, too empty. For the first time in 5 years, I was alone. I sat in the darkness of our bedroom, staring at the empty closet where Olivia's clothes used to be. The scent of her perfume still lingered in the air, suffocating me. Everywhere I looked, I saw her. The mug she used for coffee, the sweater she always threw over the couch, the framed wedding photo I couldn't bring myself to take down. I was drowning in her ghost, in the memories of a life that had been a lie. Days passed, but I barely moved. I ignored texts, ignored calls, ignored everything. Nothing seemed real anymore, until the day she showed up at my door. Not Olivia. Sophia. Underscore 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 underscore. Sophia stood in my doorway, arms crossed, looking at me with an expression that wasn't pity, but something sharper, something colder. I barely recognized her at first. I had only ever seen her at Daniel's side, the perfect girlfriend, always smiling, always poised. But the woman standing in front of me now, she was different. I heard what happened, she said simply, and I think we need to talk. I didn't have the energy for this. Sophia, I really don't. She cut me off. They did this to both of us, Michael. That stopped me. They lied to us, humiliated us, made fools out of us, she continued. And you're just going to sit here and let them get away with it? My jaw tightened. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, that I didn't care, that revenge wouldn't fix anything. But something deep inside me, something angry, something raw, leaned forward and whispered, why should they get to be happy? Underscore. Sophia sat across from me in my kitchen, arms folded as she laid out everything she knew. Daniel wasn't just cheating on her. He was stealing from her too. She had helped him financially, supported him while he tried to expand his business. And now that he had Olivia, he was trying to cut her out completely. He thinks I'm stupid, she said, voice sharp, that I won't notice what he's doing. I exhaled, rubbing my hands over my face. So what are you saying? She leaned in, eyes burning with something almost dangerous. I'm saying we don't just let them win. We take everything from them. I should have said no. I should have been the bigger person. But I wasn't. Not anymore. Underscore. Underscore. I knew exactly where to hit Daniel where it hurt. His business. He had built his company on connections and reputation, and now that he had Olivia by his side, he was trying to make it bigger. More investors. More risk. But I had something he didn't. Inside knowledge. I worked in corporate law. I knew the loopholes, the weaknesses, the secrets he didn't think anyone else knew. And so, I made a call. By the end of the week, one of his biggest investors pulled out. He had no idea it was because of me. Not yet. Underscore. The cracks in Daniel's world started to show. Sophia and I watched from a distance as he scrambled to fix the damage, trying to convince people that everything was fine. But money was slipping through his fingers, and the stress was starting to tear him apart. And Olivia? She had no idea what was happening. She still thought she had won. She had no clue that everything she had built with Daniel was already starting to rot from the inside. Underscore. The best revenge is letting them believe they are safe. Sophia and I made sure to stay quiet. We didn't confront them. We didn't act out. We let them think they had escaped without consequences. They moved in together. Olivia posted pictures of their new beginning, smiling like she had everything she ever wanted. But she didn't know. She didn't know that Daniel was drowning in debt, that he was falling apart behind closed doors, that everything she left me for was about to crash down around her. And when it did, she would have no one to save her. The first time I saw Olivia and Daniel's perfect illusion begin to crumble, it happened in the most unexpected place, a high-end restaurant. Sophia and I had gone there deliberately, knowing Daniel often brought clients there to show off. I had expected him to look confident, arrogant, the way he always did when he thought he was winning. But when I saw him, he was fidgeting, checking his phone constantly, his smile forced. Olivia sat across from him, her arms crossed, her lips pressed in a tight line. She was angry. Sophia leaned closer to me and whispered, "It's happening." I watched as Olivia's expression darkened, her voice raising slightly. I couldn't hear the words, but I didn't need to. Daniel ran a hand through his hair, looking exhausted, while Olivia slammed her drink down just a little too hard. She had no idea that this was just the beginning of the end. Underscore. Behind closed doors, Daniel's entire world was falling apart. His investors were backing out one by one. His business accounts were freezing up, and suddenly, he wasn't the untouchable businessman he had pretended to be. At first, he tried to hide it from Olivia, putting on a fake smile, acting as if nothing was wrong. But money was disappearing, deals were collapsing, and Olivia started to notice. One evening, she called him out. "What the hell is going on, Daniel?" she demanded. You promised we'd have a better life together. Daniel was stressed, irritated. He snapped, It's just a rough patch. Don't start nagging me. Olivia's face twisted with disbelief. Nagging? She had left everything behind for him. Her home, her security, me. And now he was treating her like an inconvenience? But Daniel was too deep in his own failure to notice the first seed of doubt blooming in Olivia's mind. The first time Olivia thought about calling me, she was sitting in their overpriced condo, staring at her phone. She had spent months convincing herself she had made the right choice. That leaving me for Daniel was worth it. That she had chosen excitement over routine. That she was with a man who truly loved her. But now, she wasn't so sure. Daniel was cold, constantly on edge, his temper shorter than ever. He barely looked at her the way he used to. And whenever she tried to talk about their future, he brushed her off with vague answers. And for the first time, the doubt became unbearable. She unlocked her phone, scrolled to my name. Her thumb hovered over the call button. But then, she hesitated. What would she even say? I made a mistake? I shouldn't have left? She wasn't ready to admit defeat. Not yet. While Olivia battled her regret, Daniel's world was falling apart faster than he could stop it. One of his biggest clients, a company that had supported him for years, suddenly cut ties. Daniel stormed into his office, slamming his laptop shut. What the hell is going on? He barked at his assistant. His assistant, looking nervous, handed him an email. Daniel scanned it, and his blood ran cold. The company had received inside information about his financial instability. They didn't want to be associated with someone sinking. Daniel cursed under his breath. He had no idea that I had personally made sure that the right people knew the truth about his company's hidden struggles. And this was only the beginning. It was late at night when Olivia finally learned the full truth. She had gone through Daniel's desk while he was in the shower, something she never would have done before. But something felt wrong. Something was off. And when she opened the folder labeled confidential, she felt her stomach drop. Bank statements. Missing money. Lies. Daniel had been hiding things from her. Their luxurious life? The expensive dinners? The promises? All built on a failing empire. She closed the folder just as Daniel walked in, towel slung over his shoulders. What are you doing? He asked sharply. She held up the papers. When were you going to tell me about this? Daniel froze. For the first time, he looked guilty. And Olivia knew. She had left a secure, stable life with me for nothing. Olivia, desperate to hold on to what little she had left, tried to convince Daniel to make things right. You need to fix this, she insisted. You need to get investors back. But Daniel? He was already too far gone. Don't tell me what to do, he snapped. Olivia reeled back. I'm trying to help. He glared at her. If you wanted security, maybe you should have stayed with Michael. The words hit harder than a slap. And in that moment, Olivia knew. She had never been Daniel's priority. She had been his escape from me. And now that his world was burning, he had no use for her anymore. That night, Olivia sat in their darkened bedroom, staring at her phone. Her hands shook as she typed out a message. Michael, I need to talk to you. She hovered over the send button. She wanted to believe there was still a chance. That maybe, just maybe, I would still be waiting for her. But before she could send it, I blocked her number. Olivia sat in the dark, gripping her phone as her heart pounded in her chest. Her fingers hovered over the send button, staring at the message she had typed. Michael, I need to talk to you. Her throat felt dry, her breath shallow. A part of her didn't want to send it. But another part, the desperate, regret-filled part of her, needed to. She had made a mistake, a terrible mistake, and now, everything was crumbling around her. She pressed send. For a moment, nothing happened. And then, message failed. The recipient has blocked you. Her entire body stiffened. Blocked? Her lips parted in disbelief. Michael had always been there for her. Always. Even when things weren't perfect. Even when she had begun pulling away. He had been constant, reliable hers. But now he was gone. Her hands trembled as she tried calling instead. Straight to voicemail. She tried again. Same result. A sharp, hollow feeling settled in her stomach. Michael wasn't waiting for her anymore. She had truly lost him. And suddenly, the walls around her felt smaller, suffocating. For the first time, Olivia understood what it felt like to be the one left behind. The next morning, Olivia woke up alone. Daniel had already left, and judging by the cold side of the bed, he had been gone for a while. She sighed, rubbing her face. The apartment felt too quiet, too empty. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. She had imagined a life full of passion and adventure, a future where she and Daniel would thrive together. But now, all she felt was uncertainty. She reached for her phone again, scrolling through old photos of her and Michael. Their honeymoon, their first house, their anniversary dinners. He had always looked at her like she was his entire world, and she had thrown it all away for this. Shaking her head, she stood up and wandered into the kitchen. Maybe coffee would help clear her thoughts. That was when she saw it. A single, crumpled eviction notice sitting on the counter. Her heart stopped. She snatched it up, eyes scanning the words over and over again, as if the meaning would change. Daniel hadn't told her. He hadn't told her that they were on the verge of losing everything. Underscore When Daniel came home that night, Olivia was waiting. The eviction notice sat on the table, right in front of her. Her arms were crossed, her face a mix of anger and disbelief. He barely glanced at it before sighing. "Olivia, don't start. Don't start," she repeated, her voice shaking. "We're getting kicked out, Daniel. And you didn't think to tell me?" He rubbed his temples, frustration flickering across his face. "I was handling it. Olivia let out a sharp laugh. "Is that what you call hiding the truth from me?" Daniel slammed his hands against the table, startling her. "I don't need you nagging me about this." Silence stretched between them. Nagging. He had never spoken to her like that before. Not when they were sneaking around behind Michael's back. Not when she had left her husband to be with him. Something cold settled in her chest. She had made a mistake. A terrible, irrevocable mistake. Underscore. Daniel stormed past her, muttering curses under his breath, but Olivia wasn't done. She followed him into the bedroom, voice rising. "You told me we'd have a better life together, that we'd be happy." Daniel yanked his tie off, tossing it onto the bed carelessly. "Yeah, well, things don't always work out the way you want, do they?" Her stomach twisted. He sounded resentful. She swallowed. "Are you saying you regret this?" His jaw clenched. He wouldn't look at her. And that was enough of an answer. Her chest tightened, a wave of nausea rolling over her. "I gave up everything for you." He finally turned to her, his eyes dark and unreadable. "Maybe you shouldn't have." The words felt like a slap. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Because deep down, she knew something else. Daniel didn't love her. He never had. She had been a fantasy, a thrill, an escape. But now that the real world was crashing in, she wasn't enough. Just like she hadn't been enough for Michael. She was no one's first choice anymore. Underscore. Olivia spent the next few days in denial. She tried to tell herself that Daniel was just stressed, that things would go back to normal. that he still loved her. But the truth was right in front of her. Daniel was distant, spending more and more time away from home. The expensive dates had stopped. The passionate kisses? Gone. Now, when he touched her, it felt obligatory. And then, one evening, she found the receipts. A fancy restaurant. A hotel room. But she hadn't been there. Her hands shook as she put the pieces together. Daniel was cheating on her, just like he had cheated with her. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. Karma was real. After all, When Daniel came home that night, she was waiting. She didn't scream, didn't cry. She just held up the receipts. He didn't even bother denying it. Instead, he just sighed and sat down, running a hand through his hair. Olivia, you knew what this was. Her breath caught. What are you saying? He shrugged, unapologetic. We had fun, but let's be honest. You wanted the excitement, and now it's gone. She shook her head in disbelief. I loved you. He laughed. Laughed. That was your mistake. Her heart shattered. Daniel stood, grabbed his jacket, and walked toward the door. Before he left, he turned back. You should call Michael. Maybe he'll take you back. The words stabbed through her. She had left Michael for this? She had thrown away a man who truly loved her for someone who saw her as nothing more than a temporary thrill. And now, she had nothing. That night, she did what she swore she'd never do. She called Michael. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Then, voicemail. Her throat closed. She tried again, voicemail, and again, until finally, she got a text message back. Lose my number, Olivia. Her hands trembled. No, this couldn't be it. She typed out a response, begging for just one conversation, just one chance. But the message never went through, because Michael had blocked her. For good. Olivia sat on the cold floor of the apartment, staring at nothing. Daniel was gone. Michael was gone. She had destroyed everything. And now, for the first time, she felt what she had made Michael feel. Betrayal. Loss. Heartbreak. And the worst part? She had done it to herself. Days turned into weeks, and Olivia felt like a ghost. The walls of her empty apartment seemed to close in on her, suffocating her with the silence she once craved. She had imagined a future where she and Daniel would be happy, where their love would thrive, where they'd have everything. But that fantasy had shattered into dust. Daniel had moved on without a second thought, and Michael had erased her from his life completely. One evening, she sat scrolling through her phone, searching for something, anything, that would tether her back to the life she once had. And then her fingers froze. There he was. Michael. A mutual friend had posted a picture. Michael at a gala, standing beside a beautiful woman. She looked elegant, poised, and most of all, happy. And so did Michael. Her heart clenched as she zoomed in on his face. The sadness that had once haunted his eyes, gone. He looked free. And for the first time, Olivia understood. He had truly moved on. The realization hit her like a gut punch. She had to try one last time. She couldn't let things end like this. She needed closure, needed to talk to Michael, needed him to at least acknowledge that what they had meant something. She picked up her phone and dialed his number. It didn't even ring. Her heart sank as the screen flashed. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. Blocked. Again. Frustrated, she typed out an email, something long and heartfelt, pouring every ounce of regret into it. She hesitated before pressing send, but when she finally did, error. The recipient has blocked this address. Michael had cut her off completely. She had officially ceased to exist in his world. Underscore 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 underscore. For the first time in her life, Olivia had no safety net. She had spent years building a network of people who admired her, envied her. But now, they were all gone. Her old friends had moved on, either out of loyalty to Michael or simply because they saw no value in staying connected to someone who had thrown everything away for nothing. Even Daniel, the man she had sacrificed everything for, had cut her off without hesitation. She thought about reaching out to her family, but what could she say? I cheated on my husband, destroyed my marriage, and now the man I left him for doesn't want me either? She had no one left. And worst of all, she had done this to herself. Underscore 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 underscore. While Olivia's life crumbled, Michael's life had never been better. After everything, he had thrown himself into his work, and success followed. He had been promoted to senior partner at his firm, doubling his salary. He had started traveling, something Olivia had always dismissed as a waste of time, and he had met someone new. Her name was Sophie, and she was everything Olivia wasn't. Supportive, kind, genuine. Michael hadn't planned on falling in love again, but Sophie showed him what true love looked like. Love without conditions, without selfishness. And slowly Michael realized something. Losing Olivia wasn't a curse. It was a blessing. Underscore 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 underscore. Months passed, and Olivia's once beautiful, glamorous life became a dull, empty existence. One day, while grocery shopping at a discount store, something she never thought she'd have to do, she reached in her wallet and found something she hadn't noticed before. A single, folded photograph. It was a picture of her and Michael, taken years ago at a cabin trip. She had forgotten about it, but now, as she stared at it, she felt an unbearable ache in her chest. Michael had loved her. He had given her everything, and she had thrown him away like he was nothing. Now, she was the nothing. Underscore 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 underscore. Desperate to rebuild her life, Olivia applied for a job at a new law firm. She had experience, she was qualified. But when she walked into the office, her heart stopped cold, because staring back at her from the glass walls of the conference room was Michael. This was his firm. She hadn't even realized. Michael glanced at her through the glass, his expression unreadable. For a second, her breath caught. Maybe this was it. Maybe this was her chance. But then, he simply turned away, and seconds later, his assistant walked up to her. "I'm sorry, Ms. Olivia, but this position has been filled." Just like that, she lost the last opportunity she had left. Underscore 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 underscore. Olivia had nothing. Her savings had run dry. Her rent was overdue. She had been forced to move out of her fancy apartment and into a rundown studio, barely able to afford it. She couldn't even afford a car anymore. Every day was a struggle just to get through the basics. And the worst part? She deserved it. Underscore 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 underscore. One evening, Olivia was sitting at a small cafe, sipping the cheapest coffee on the menu, when she saw him. Michael. He was laughing, looking more alive than she had ever seen him. And beside him, Sophie. Olivia's stomach twisted as she watched them. Sophie touched his arm, and he leaned into her, his gaze filled with something Olivia had seen before. Love. Except this time, it wasn't for her. Underscore 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 underscore. That night, Olivia made one last attempt. She typed out a message to Michael. "I just want to say I'm sorry. For everything." She hesitated, then added, I hope you're happy. For a moment, she thought about deleting it, but finally she hit send. And just like before, message failed. The recipient has blocked you. Tears slipped down her face. This time, there would be no second chance. Underscore 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 underscore. Sitting in the dark, Olivia finally faced the truth. Michael was gone. Not just physically, not just blocked on her phone. He had erased her from his life. And the worst part? He was happier without her. That was the real punishment. Knowing that she had thrown away a man who had truly loved her, only to end up alone. Michael had moved on, built a new life, and left Olivia behind like a distant memory. But something inside him still burned. Not with love, not with sadness, but with a cold, calculating desire for justice. She had betrayed him, humiliated him, treated him like he was disposable. And while she had already lost everything, he wanted her to feel the final, crushing weight of her decisions. He didn't just want her to suffer. He wanted to bury her reputation so deep that no one would ever trust her again. And so, he made a call. It was time for her final downfall. Underscore 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 underscore. Olivia was still struggling to survive, hopping from one low-paying job to another, barely making ends meet. But she had one last hope. A new company was considering hiring her. A stable position. A chance to start fresh. She walked into the interview room, dressed in her last decent outfit, trying to hold herself together. The hiring manager smiled at her. Ms. Olivia, we were quite interested in your background. For a brief moment, she felt hope. And then, the door opened. Michael walked in. Her breath caught in her throat. He was the CEO of the company. And just like that, she knew she was finished. Underscore 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 underscore. The air in the room was suffocating. Olivia couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Michael sat across from her, his face unreadable. Tell me, Olivia, he said smoothly. Why do you think you'd be a good fit for this company? She swallowed, her mouth dry. I just want a chance. His lips curled into a smirk. A chance? Like the one you gave me before you threw me away. Tears welled in her eyes. Michael, please. I need this job. He leaned forward, his gaze sharp as a knife. You needed me when you had no one left. You never needed me when I was the one who loved you. Silence filled the room. And then, Michael stood up. Unfortunately, Ms. Olivia, he said, this company has a strict policy against hiring unethical employees. Her stomach dropped. This interview is over. Her last lifeline, destroyed. Underscore 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 underscore. Michael wasn't done yet. He wanted everyone to know who Olivia really was. With his connections, he made sure that her past was revealed. The industry whispered about her affair, her betrayal, her downfall. No reputable company would ever hire her again. She wasn't just struggling. She was permanently ruined. Underscore 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 underscore. Michael didn't stop with Olivia. Daniel, once a man who had stolen his wife, was now a nobody, struggling to stay afloat. But Michael wasn't done with him either. With a simple legal maneuver, Michael purchased Daniel's failing business at an auction, for pennies. Daniel didn't even realize who the buyer was until it was too late. And then, one day, he got a letter, a termination notice. Michael fired him from his own company. Daniel had taken everything from him. And now, Michael had taken everything from Daniel. Underscore 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 underscore. Olivia was homeless, jobless, and completely alone. She had burned every bridge, lost every friend, ruined every opportunity. She wandered through the city, aimless, searching for something, anything, to bring her life back to what it once was. But it never would be. She had made her choices. And now, this was her reality. While Olivia drowned in her own regrets, Michael's life flourished. His business thrived, his new relationship with Sophie was stronger than ever, and most of all, he was free. He had no guilt, no sadness, no second thoughts. Olivia was nothing but a lesson learned. And now, she was nothing at all. Months later, Michael was walking down a busy street when he saw her. Olivia. She looked frail, broken, unrecognizable. For a moment, she just stared at him, her eyes pleading, desperate. Then, softly, she whispered, "Michael." He didn't stop walking. He didn't even acknowledge her. She wasn't worth a single second of his time. And as he walked away, she finally understood. She hadn't just lost him. She had lost everything. Michael never spoke of Olivia again. He never wondered how she was doing, never wasted another thought on the woman who had betrayed and abandoned him. Because true revenge isn't about anger. It's about moving on so completely that they don't exist anymore. And that's exactly what he did. One year later, Michael stood at the altar, staring into Sophie's eyes, filled with nothing but love and happiness. Olivia? She was nothing but a forgotten mistake. As Michael and Sophie exchanged vows, Olivia sat alone in a rundown apartment, watching their wedding photos appear online. The final proof that Michael had won. Because the best revenge is living a life they can never touch.